If you want to learn how to properly W key and win more fights, then you've come to the right place. Because in this video, we're going to be breaking down everything Vico does in his fights to make him one of the best fraggers in the world. So we all know about the crash pad fizz awareness checks in the new season, but you can also do these with launch pads. You set it up like a normal low pad, but you place the floor to bounce off. He catches this player off guard and should have hit bigger if the new shotgun wasn't so pants. After his shot, he immediately places the walls so he doesn't take any damage in return or the opponent can't escape. He also places the cone so the opponent can't ramp over him. He takes a really safe peek and shoots the opponent's toes, getting some chip damage, and cleans up the fight when the enemy runs through the wall and takes the 50-50. In this fight, you'll see why identifying chops and quick execution are so important. The opponent fizzes up so Vico knows he's not connected and does his first chop. This results in 120 damage, getting him on the front foot. A lot of players then panic build to pop their heals, and Vico identifies this and goes for his second chop, but unfortunately doesn't get this shot this time. And when the opponent goes up to high ground, even though Vico is one of the best creative players, he decides to go for his third and final chop, which wins him the fight. So what does Vico do on the rare occasion where he's the one getting pushed? Well, first of all, he does the first fundamental in defensive box fighting and makes space. But he does it correctly, unlike a lot of players, and puts the builds between him and the opponent. A lot of players are going to be over aggressive like this guy, and you can punish them for it. The enemy's now in Vico's box, and whilst double layering, he swings round and places the ramp so he can't protect himself. He then creates really safe right hand peeks by sticking close to the wall. As Resub explained, this creates better angles than being further back. If we watch from the enemy's perspective, you'll see that he can't see Vico at all. The best way to start fights is what Vico does here. He gets some good initial damage, followed by claiming high ground. Piece control is all about quickly identifying what builds are missing from the enemy's box and then taking them. He first takes the floors, which results in some big damage. He then gets the middle wall that blocks the opponent's shot, and then he places the back walls to stop him escaping. Some new tech for the season is if you combine a crash pad fizz with the medallions, you can basically fly. Vico does this and gets some good initial damage, and when he drops down, he realizes the common mistake and the player has no middle wall, so he takes it himself. And due to him carrying the sentinel and the revolver in most of these games, he can double pump and finish this fight extremely quickly. This time Vico's the one getting awareness checked and someone crash pads on his head, so he has to play defensive again. He creates space by making a 2x1, and then when the opponent approaches, he makes sure he's doubled layered by holding his wall through his cone. The advantage being, even if the enemy takes the wall, Vico still has this cone to protect him and can edit out safely. But instead he decides to reset the cone and punish the enemy for standing straight on the wall and double swinging. Now the enemy can only escape the way they come in, but Vico knows this, so he gets some nice pre-piece and finishes the fight. If we switch to the opponent's perspective, you can see he's actually racked up a lot of eliminations himself, and he's actually got 16k PR and nearly 2k earned. So he's a really good player, but he couldn't touch Vico after his initial damage because Vico's so good at defensive box fighting and he's mastered all his fundamentals. In this fight, Vico again starts by taking high ground, and he's able to maintain it because he blocks this enemy side jump with his cone. He then does one of the best edits in the game where you blueprint edit this wall from above. As you can see from the enemy's POV, it's really safe because it gives you a good angle, but you also can't get pieced. After a bit of misfortune and Vico getting stuck in the map, he takes time to reset the fight and heal. And it's important to know even these top pros aren't going 100 miles per hour and always being the aggressor. If you're planning to W key, you should always opt for quick heals. It only takes Vico a second to pop this golden slut, which is going to get him back to full HP, and he can go straight back to a pressure in the opponent. But the enemy actually makes a nice counter shot and forces Vico to start playing defensive. Unlike the other mistakes we've seen, he claims all build pieces. Peterbot is one of the best for just waiting for his opponents to make a mistake, and that's what Vico does here by creating this right hand peek. The opponent does just that when he jumps into Vico's peeker's advantage. Vico now has the advantage, and when he drops down onto his wall, he realizes the opponent's not as smart as him and he's forgot the build pieces, so Vico takes them and finishes the fight. Vico starts this fight by suffocating the opponent by taking all of his exit options. The enemy makes the mistake and runs into one of these, and Vico gets the opening damage. He follows this up with some of the nicest piece control I've ever seen, which leads to him full boxing the opponent. He then does the left ramp edit that I never see people do, even though it creates a perfect right hand peek, but unfortunately the opponent gets out. Then he does something so simple yet so effective. Instead of chasing the opponent through all these builds, which is going to slow him down and the opponent will get a chance to heal, he actually wraps all the way around and then finds the opponent and gets the elimination. In this fight, you'll see Vico do 3 of the things we've already talked about because I want to show you how engraved it is in his fighting. Firstly, he takes height and stops the opponent with this floor. Secondly, he again suffocates the opponent by taking all these top pieces and cutting him off. He then doesn't make the mistake of standing straight on this wall, and he jumps up, which actually confuses the opponent as he comes straight back down. And thirdly, you already know by this point, but the opponent has no middle wall and Vico gets the kill because he has the double pump. When Vico fights for height, he hugs the existing build, so it's harder for the opponent to know he's coming up. He hits a big shot from a side jump, which pros are always doing in these build fights. And then to stop the opponent coming up, he places a cone on top of the box by lining his crosshair flare up with the top of the wall. He then does the waterfall piece again that we saw earlier in the video, and you need to learn this. Vico always attacks boxes from the diagonal because it's hard for the opponent to shoot or box you. Once this works the first time, Vico drops down again and takes this wall to be safe, and then does the exact same setup. And as you can see from the enemy's POV, he's invisible when he hugs this wall. The jump medallion here does a really good job on switching up the angle and keeping the opponent guessing. By taking this wall as piece control, Vico manages to block the shot and return one of his own. And even though the enemy's now 1 HP, he still hugs this little bit of build so he doesn't take a shot in return, as you never know if there's a third party nearby. Vico starts this fight with some good initial damage, and when the opponent drops down, he uses this pre-existing ramp as a right hand peek to take the wall. But the enemy catches on and runs away, so Vico follows but then gets caught in his builds. But instead of taking the 50-50 like a lot of you would have, he decides to reposition himself, giving himself a right hand peek. 50-50's in the name, there's a strong chance that you'll die, but doing plays like this increases the chance of you winning the fight. I thought I'd seen it all until I watched this fight where Vico has a DMR against an opponent that has a shotgun. And he was the one pushing, which requires insane confidence, which is so important in these fights. First of all, he uses the little builds he has to box up. He knows if the enemy's double swinging, then he'll be able to get the first shot, and because he's got barely any builds, he makes use of the ones he's got and edits this cone over the opponent. To cover himself from the enemy or prevent him escaping, he places a ramp when the cone's broken. He then gets out the box whilst the enemy's still trapped inside. He then edits and gets more damage, and where the enemy has to mantle to get out the box, it means he can't shoot, so Vico cleans him up. Due to Vico using the double pump, he out damages his opponent here, meaning he's on the front foot. He cuts off the angles by pre-piecing and would have killed the enemy if he went into any of these. He uses the medallion to double jump and get a nice surprise shot on the opponent, and to increase the pressure, he swings around the side of the builds to limit the amount of builds between him and the opponent. He notices that the opponent's in panic mode and hasn't placed a back wall, so he jumps round and takes it himself, getting the kill. It's 2025 and a lot of you are still running into bushes dying. Vico is aware and doesn't make this mistake, and before starting the fight he even decides to destroy the bush. This increases his vision and takes away any advantage the opponent could have had. He again stands on this diagonal where he's invisible to the enemy, and the opponent makes the same mistake I see so many of you do. He does a peanut butter edit, but he's nowhere near his wall, meaning it's useless. We've all been there when a third party steals your kill, but you need to limit further damage and make sure they don't get the loot too. By getting there first, Vico goes from 200 to max materials, and he probably would have died without these because the opponent was coming in fresh. He's clearly learned the meta fast as he's really good at these medallion jump shots, and when the opponent's scrambling, he manages to get this back wall. But instead of getting closer where he's at risk, he decides to keep his distance behind a right hand peak to be extra safe. Make a long piece blueprint edit, which a lot of you aren't mechanically gifted enough to do consistently, which results in him getting the kill on a third party who had all the advantages. If you found the video helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a like and consider using code Abentzy, as these are the best free ways to support the channel. Also make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications because I've got way more content on the way to help you improve.